Yes, yes. Under the fair use laws of the FAA, copyrights, commentary, fair use. Hello, tis the hamster. How the hell are you? 11:28 Central Time, United States of America. And I was just looking around, for a live stream or something, and there's nobody streaming. At least not on my subscription list. So I thought we'd do something. I mean, why not? Look what I have here. I've got a fresh torpedo. Mm. Oh, mm. Mm, 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 mm. Yummy. So, the subject of the video and the link below is the Barbie movie. And while, conservatives are evil and shit and they hate the Barbie movie, Easter Sunday. Hello, Easter. How are you? Yes, I split my screen so I can read the comments at the same time. I know, I'm getting smarter. Even I can learn things over time. So this woman's name is Leeja Miller. And, Ben Shapiro burned the Barbie or something. I don't fucking know. I don't care. Right? Who gives a shit? Eric Zombro's in the building. Hello. Lord Messiah Disciple. Hello. How are you? Okay. Anyway, so people, I guess, are pissed about Barbie. I could fucking care. Could not care less. If you don't want to go see the movie, don't. If you like it, good. Radium Kush is here. Hello, Kush. Toke it up, bro. Tom Laundry is in the building. All right. So anyway, I think this Leeja Miller is a lawyer or something and a commentator, right? She's kind of really sort of down the middle, kind of. But of course, she's a fembot. And from her looks, she might be in her 30s. And she hates Ronald motherfucking Reagan because, she was alive during that time. So she can put Reagan in the context of all the other things going on. Kush, you were around, right? Inflation, stagflation, 48% interest rates on houses, all that fucking bullshit, the oil crisis. Yeah. So there's a lot going on there. Just Ronald motherfucking Reagan. She's not a big Trump fan either. By the way, Char's the McGarb with that. Hello, Char. All right. Let's get a few opening words here about Barbie. I'm not going to play the whole Barbie thing because I really don't fucking care. I don't care. If you don't like the movie, don't go see it. If you like it, good. But I do have a couple of comments, so go on.
You're lucky we want equality and not revenge. A whole dissertation could and should be written on the conservative backlash to Barbie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want equality, do you? So exactly what would that look like? How would you frame that, Leeja? Equality? How? What? Like under the law? You want what? Or do you want equal outcome? See, big difference, right? We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, hold on.
Alone. But suffice it to say, their understanding of the central themes of the film lacks so much depth that it would make any high school English teacher feel ashamed.
Did you hear that? She's trying to shame us. Oh my God. I don't care about the movie. I really don't give a shit. Whatever. Now, what I can say though, with respect to the movie, and it's not going to be about the movie. I don't really care. However, think back through history. Fat Dog is here. Hello. Think back through history, Kush. Fat Dog. Zombro. Can you tell me how many months ago that Barbie, with her stereotypical beauty, her stereotypical body, she's thin and fit in shape, and God forbid the color fucking pink. Wasn't that a bad thing just months ago? Yeah, I think it was. You remember the color pink? You got to get rid of pink socks because it's girly. Well, you can't assign, but Barbie, the whole fucking movie is pink. It's fine. She's skinny, wearing bikinis. She's pretty. She's attractive. Oh, no, it's okay now. Isn't it? It's crazy how things change just like that, isn't it? I know. It's crazy talk. Another interesting thing, too, is that she'll go on to talk a little bit about the movie here. But I did leave a comment in her video. Don't go there and bother her, but go watch the video. It's probably interesting for you. If the plot of the Barbie movie, for example, let's just say the plot of the Barbie movie was Barbie got tired of being a street hoe and I don't know, she's a street hoe. You listen to my point. She got tired of doing whatever her free lifestyle style is, right? She decided to become a Christian. She decided to get married to Ken, and she decided to have children and be a stay-at-home mother. Do you think the lefties and the fembots would be responding the same way to the Barbie movie? Just saying. Go on.
Not one critical thinking synapse is firing in the conservative response to this film. But ultimately, that's not the point. The point in all of this is to rile people up, get likes and views and clicks, to glom onto a cultural moment to gain clout.
I see. I mean, that's what Ben Shapiro, He only gets millions of views every day. I'm sure he needs people for extra clicks and cash. Ben Shapiro.
All while reinforcing the idea that men and conservative values are under attack. They're the victims here. It's
I see. Yeah.
Stokes paranoia, which then fans the flames of the right moving ever further to the right.
See, Leeja, could it be that people on the right and in the center are not moving at all? Could it be that the left wing is going to fucking crazy town on a high-speed train? And so, since relativity, everything's relative to you, it seems like people on the center and right are going farther right. When in fact, it depends on your point of reference, your frame of reference. Remember all that? Maybe you didn't pay attention in college. Anyway, go ahead.
And this idea that feminism or any cultural moment in which women have a prominent speaking role, God forbid, is...
Let's listen to that again. Willie Jurgen is here. Hello.
The idea that feminism or any cultural moment in which women have a prominent speaking role, God forbid.
Women have a prominent speaking role. So as to indicate that women don't have such a role in the West. That's all you hear is feminists bitching about everything. But you're oppressed, right? Media doesn't pay attention to women because you get back in the kitchen. Right, Leeja? Yeah, I think this woman's thoroughly fucking brainwashed, if I might say.
Is a threat to the freedoms and traditions of real Americans, is strong with Trump. See my video on the cult of Donald Trump, but it's
yeah, she really loves Trump.
It's also a message that has been recycled again and again by Republicans since the dawn of the Reagan era.
You see, the thing about you, though, Leeja, is you're going to get to it eventually here. You and your ilk, you fembots, if a woman decides to do what she wants with her own life, whatever it happens to be, she wants to be a stay-at-home mother, boss bitch, wants to be a CEO, she wants to be an astronaut, God bless her, except the stay-at-home mother part. Now, have you asked yourself, dear, why does that choice bother you so much? Have you asked your feminist sisterin why that choice bothers you so much? Don't women have a right to be a stay-at-home mother? No. Every other choice but that one. SE Master Wrench is here. Hello. Good to see you, man.
In 1963, second wave feminism was underway. American feminist writer Betty Friedan published her wildly popular book, The Feminine Mystique.
Yes, it's quite an interesting book. Available free online if you want to read it. It's
that same year. In it, she criticizes the separate sphere of motherhood and homemaking that women are relegated to, while men are able to flourish in the male sphere of work, politics, and power.
Okay, this was the late 50s, early 60s. And so at the time, Betty Friedan had a point. But we all noticed, maybe perhaps some of us, we're not living in 1959, are we? We're living in 2023. How many years is that? Let's see. I'm 59. So 1960, that'd be 63 years ago when the book came out, roughly. We don't live there anymore.
That same year, in 1963, JFK signed the Equal Pay Act into law, making it illegal to pay women less than men for doing comparable work at the same job.
Okay, no. We cannot let this go, gentlemen. Let's listen to that one more time. If it'll work. There we go.
Of work, politics, and power. That same year, in 1963, JFK signed the Equal Pay Act into law, making it illegal to pay women less than men for doing comparable work at the same job. Title VII of
the... So, Leeja Miller, you and your feminist Nazis still say women and men are paid differently for doing the same job. What happened again in 1963?
Politics and power. That same year, in 1963, JFK signed the Equal Pay Act into law, making it illegal to pay women less than men for doing comparable work at the same job.
So, what you're going to now tell me is that women are oppressed and we still need feminism because of the wage gap. That's right. I keep forgetting, guys. Consistency doesn't matter.
Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prevented employers from discriminating against employees based on race, religion, sex, or national origin.
Yes, absolutely. Equal Pay Act, I applaud it. This act here, 1964, I applaud it. I also look at 1978 when the law finally made it illegal for employers in the United States to fire a female if she got pregnant. Amen. So what's the next part of this little history lesson are we going to hear about? Any bets? Anyone?
And in 1965, Griswold v. Connecticut came down at the Supreme Court.
Birth control. Now, those evil, nasty, right-wing Nazi conservatives, around the time the birth control pill was invented, it was like, no. This is for married women. This is for married women to control their fertility because, you know, they just have no choice. Their evil husbands are attacking them. And so they sold it. They sold the lie. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, married women should have that right. Well, what did Griswold do? Oh, no. That slippery slope never, ever happens, right? Griswold said, no. Everyone can buy it. Doesn't have to be married women. And then the ball went down from there.
Finding that access to contraception was a right guaranteed by the Constitution.
For single women. Yes.
By 1972, less than a decade after Betty Friedan said women should break out of their traditional sphere into the spheres typically reserved for men.
Yeah. Yes, she did say that. It's like, women shouldn't just be relegated to stay at home, be a housewife. They should be able to go get a career. They should be able to that's fine. That's what you want to do. God bless you. That's fine. But of course, Leeja is going to throw out the old conservative tropes and the stereotype. Oh, you just want women to go back in the kitchen, right? Sure.
Gloria Steinem joined Friedan and other activists, including Congresswomen Bella Abzug and Shirley Chisholm.
One comment, if you don't mind. Was this before or after Gloria got out of the CIA? I was just wondering. Now, Bella Abzug, I remember, was a congresswoman from New York City. And I'm not familiar with this woman, but it's 1972. Now, I thought up until yesterday, women weren't allowed to participate in politics or go to college or do any of those things. Or in the case of Gloria Steinem, be a Playboy bunny. I thought women weren't allowed to do that. I wonder what we're talking about here. This is 1972, 51 years ago. Aha! So they had congresswomen in 1972. Interesting.
To form the National Women's Political Caucus to support gender equality and ensure women's representation in political office.
Which eventually became the National Organization for Women.
That same year, 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment to the U.S. Constitution passed in Congress.
Now, listen to the way our friend here, Leeja, talks about the history of the ERA. You ready?
Okay. It had been introduced nearly 50 years earlier, and it didn't just pass, it passed with flying colors. The ERA received broad bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate.
Well, that's interesting, but that really doesn't fucking matter. Does it? Because it requires the states and the voters in each state to approve it. I know, right? See, she's another one of these brain-dead fembots who somehow believes passing the Equal Rights Amendment will benefit women somehow, when in fact it will take away special privileges only women have. But let's not muddy the waters with reality or facts. Go on.
In the House, it was voted in 354 to 24. In the Senate, 84 to 8.
Well, it could have been 51-50. It could have been 103 to 102. It doesn't fucking matter. Leeja, you're the lawyer.
Support was so broad and so bipartisan that many assumed that its ratification in the states was a foregone conclusion.
Oh. See, that's what happens when you let people decide. Why do you think they got so fucking wigged out about Roe? Any ideas? For 50 plus years, Americans were not allowed to vote on the topic. Now, as you can see, the country's pretty split when it comes to submersion, but at least people are allowed to vote on it in their individual states the way it's supposed to be. Go on.
As a reminder, for a constitutional amendment to pass, it must first be passed by Congress and then sent to the states for ratification.
Well, that's one way. There's another way to do it, but okay. Yeah.
3/4 of the states must ratify the amendment for it to be added to the Constitution. The reason for this widespread support of the ERA was because it was seen correctly as simply something that would ensure equal opportunities for women.
Let me go back.
It was seen correctly as simply something that would ensure equal opportunities for women.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's where you're wrong. That's where you are misinformed. That's where your legal training just went out the door for your disgusting ideology. It would not do that. It would actually take away all the special rights women have built up over time, because thus it would be illegal. Do you understand? What does it say, to be exact?
Should they choose to pursue them? The amendment literally just says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
So my right to get a scholarship to college is being abridged under the law because those scholarships are going to women. Do you see my point, Leeja? See?
It then grants Congress the power to enforce the amendment and says it will take effect 2 years after the date of ratification.
And then it all went to hell because some evil Nazi started speaking out against the ERA.
That's it. The U.S. and states can't deny or abridge equality of rights under the law on account of sex. But
yeah, they tried to pass this. I think it was introduced around 1921. They tried to pass it somewhere in the 40s or early 50s. Same thing, equal rights shall not be except in the 50s, there was something called the Hayden Rider, Hayden Rider, which shit-canned it. Nobody voted for it. You know why? Because the Hayden Rider says all of the special goodies and shit that women have, all that'll remain the same after the ERA passes.
But thanks to incredible PR over years, the ERA has been vilified as a radical attempt to inject the Constitution in the very fabric of the United States with hateful, unfair, dangerous feminazi ideas that threaten American traditions and family values.
Thus enters the villain, Phyllis Schlafly.
And who do we have to thank for that? Phyllis motherfucking Schlafly.
From St. Louis, by the way.
And Reagan, of course, but we'll get to him. Phyllis Schlafly was a lawyer and political activist who threw herself behind the...
Excuse me. Hold on.
Of course, but we'll get to him. Phyllis Schlafly was a lawyer...
Excuse me. Leeja, this was in the 1970s. Women only could be in the kitchen. They couldn't go to college. They couldn't become a lawyer. Are you lying to me? Are you lying that Phyllis Schlafly was a lawyer, or are you lying that women didn't have opportunities in the 70s? In her case, it would have been the 60s. Color me confused.
And political activist who threw herself behind the cause to stop the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment.
So she used her rights as an American to go out and protest against this particular thing. Okay, she's a radical. She's a Nazi. She's a right-wing radical lunatic. Funny, isn't it? You're a Nazi when you have a disagreement with their way of thinking. It's crazy. Dark Blade is here. Hello.
In 1972, she organized the Stop ERA movement, using her political connections and a truly incredible PR campaign to shift the rhetoric around the ERA from supporting the general idea that women should have equal rights under the law to fear-mongering conservatives.
Okay. Let's go back. Hold on. Oop. My keyboard's sticky. Oh, stop it.
From supporting the general idea that women should have equal rights under the law.
Supporting the general idea that back in the 70s, before the Equal Rights Amendment was being talked about, women didn't have equal rights under the law. Is that right, Leeja? And so what you're saying is that since the Equal Rights Amendment didn't pass, you still do not have equal rights under the law in 2023. So, Leeja, could you point out one of those rights that you don't have that I do? Just curious.
To fear-mongering conservatives, especially.
Fear-mongering or telling them the truth about the amendment.
Especially other conservative women, into believing that the ERA would erode traditional American family values.
Other conservative women. Okay. Rusty Rivers is here. Captain Crab Cakes. Other conservative women. No. You see, in order to get a majority, you've got to get over 50% of the vote. Generally, conservatives are about 25%. Liberals, 25%. There are a lot of people in the middle you seem to be forgetting about. It wasn't radical conservative Nazis. It was the middle that said this is bullshit and didn't want it. And you fucking hate that, don't you?
And would, in fact, hurt women and do away with the privileges they enjoyed.
Yes. Yes, Leeja. Phyllis was not lying about that.
Such as dependent wife Social Security income and not having to worry about getting drafted into the military.
Yes.
It would require women to put their children into government daycare and put themselves on the front lines in warfare.
In theory, it would. Now, Leeja, I'm sure you follow the law because you're a lawyer and shit. You did hear that one of the circuit courts in the United States overturned the male-only draft, right? No, it has to be because women can now be in that. So what's the first fucking thing they want to do? Get rid of it. Instead of just having women sign that card when they're 18, just like men do, they want to shit can it. Isn't that nice?
She used that popular right-wing tactic, fear, to
oddly, they didn't want to shit can it before women were affected by it. Isn't that something?
Depict feminism as this anti-American, untraditional mandate that would take over everyone's life and take away freedom of choice. Presenting anti-feminism as the morally superior alternative.
Yeah, see, here's the deal, Leeja. You equate anti-feminism with anti-woman or anti-woman's rights. You are absolutely fucking incorrect because feminism is not about women's rights. Feminism is a Marxist movement designed to destroy capitalism.
Okay. When I say this woman was a master at what she was doing, the states had a 7-year window to ratify the ERA. 38 states were needed to hit that 3/4 of states requirement. In the first year, 30 states ratified the ERA.
Yes, probably because they weren't thinking clearly.
Schlafly's numbers grew in number and her influence spread. She single-handedly managed to halt the progress of the ERA and even send it careening backward. In the remaining 6 years of the ratification window, only 5 more states ratified, and numerous states were so swayed by her rhetoric that they attempted to rescind their ratification. By the end,
not only did they attempt to, Leeja, they did rescind the ratification.
The 7-year window, the ERA was 3 states short of ratification. Even after an extension, the ERA still failed to pass. Schlafly's campaign was so spectacularly successful that even though she was just a silly little woman,
silly little woman, whom you disagree with, but whatever.
Other politicians began to take notice. Most notably, Ronald motherfucking Reagan.
Ronald motherfucking Reagan.
ERA was failing miserably right around the time Ronnie was gearing up for the 1980 election, and he realized that being anti-feminist was politically advantageous.
Yes. What does it say there in the headline? GOP platform backs equality, women's rights, abso-fucking-lutely, but not feminism.
So despite 4 decades of GOP support for the ERA...
Kush, what are you saying, Cushy? Why would you say that?
Once again, Phyllis managed to turn that boat around quickly. Reagan dropped the longtime pro-ERA platform plank and replaced it with one supporting an anti-abortion amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
He wasn't explicitly anti-equality. He was just concerned that the ERA could really weaken the American family and diminish the special protections that women held so dear.
Yes. You've hit it twice already, Leeja. That's right.
And this especially appealed to Southern white women.
Okay, well, of course, it's it's racist.
Same women Schlafly so successfully organized, because Southern white culture had long been a stronghold of traditional.
Well, nothing like throwing KKK pictures in there, huh?
Gender norms.
Right.
The Southern white woman was to be put on a pedestal, financially supported, protected from the hardships of public life, virtue intact. Poor and working class white women didn't necessarily have those protections, but they were certainly aspirational.
Lord Messiah disciple. Capitalism. You are poor and you are fed. Another form of political ideology. You are poor and you starve. Okay. Well, there's something. Yeah. Go ahead.
We've seen time and again for those women, they united over their whiteness instead of coalescing around class or gender struggles. Meaning that this
class. I mean, she's using all the fucking buzzwords, all the Marxist buzzwords, right? So I think we know where she sits. Let's see, can I go back? My thing. I gotta clean my keyboard here, man. Let me go ahead.
Barely have those protections, but they were certainly aspirational. As
Mita from Finland. Good morning.
We've seen time and again for those women, they united over their whiteness instead of coalescing around class or gender struggles.
Class or gender struggles. Those are fucking socialist Marxist words.
Meaning that this utopia of protection for women and traditional family values that Schlafly loved to tout was only a reality for a small percentage of the women who followed her, but was nevertheless supported by the working white women who believed they were just temporarily embarrassed housewives.
Right.
And as we've already discussed, see, for example, my video about how Ronald Reagan ruined everything. This marked the beginning of increased polarization between the right and left in this country that
sure
has only festered since then. And this polarization affects pretty much every major political issue, but the reverberations of Schlafly's anti-ERA campaign and
Tommy Lauren. Hello, Tommy.
Obsession with traditional family values can still be heard on the right today.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you are a conservative, you want to conserve the good parts of society.
Amplified by decades of morphing and growing into an outsized.
Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Well, I mean, if I got to be honest.
Mutated swamp monster with 18 heads, all screeching something different.
Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. Okay.
About feminazis and the patriarchy. This can be seen, for example, in Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon's declaration that if you rolled out a guillotine, they'd chop off every set of balls in the room. Women are going to take charge of society. The anti-patriarchy movement is going to undo 10,000 years of recorded history. Or Piers Morgan saying, immediately when I hear the word patriarchy, I think, here we go again, despite everything that's happened in the last 50 years. All men are awful unless proven otherwise. All women are downtrodden, oppressed, and if it weren't for men, women would rule the world. It's exhausting for me.
Well, you know what's exhausting is hearing feminists say, as you've said it several times here, Leeja, women are oppressed, class struggle. Oh, we don't have equal rights. You even said the Equal Pay Act in 1963. You got that right, but you're probably still claiming somewhere that men and women are paid differently based on their sex for the same job.
Piercy Weesey, it's exhausting for you. That must be so hard for the baby. Also, yes, by default, women would rule the world if it weren't for men.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of feminism or pointing out the patriarchy.
What is it then?
Fear-mongering on the right loves to grab onto the idea that any movement towards progress is necessarily a movement against them.
Okay. You hear this quite a bit, I'm sure you guys, right? Progress. We're progressive. We're progressing. I could go out in the backyard, right? I could dig a hole and then fill the hole back in and then dig the hole again. I'm making progress. Am I getting anything done? Useful? No. Just because you progress somewhere doesn't mean you're going in the right fucking direction. You see, that's the thing. Conserve the good parts and progress to get better things if there's problems, not fucking radically change the whole entire fucking country and make it a socialist utopia where there's no more class struggle. Have you ever read any of the history of the Soviet Union? A classless society, was it? Okay.
Like, because women want equality, that necessarily means we're against men. And that feeling of threat hides the true reality, which is that for the men who feel threatened by women's equality,
shaming language,
a threat to the status quo is a threat to them because the status quo makes them comfortable. And why is that? Why? Oh yeah, because it serves them.
Yes, it serves. That's right. Saint Troglodyte, hello. Don Quixote. Yes, tilting at windmills. Tilting at windmills, indeed.
Well, we could go on and on about academic discourse around the right-wing blowback against feminism.
Could we?
Etc. The reality is that this increased polarization between the left and right, between feminists and anti-feminists, is that we have demonized each other to the point that we mischaracterize the general beliefs of each side.
Okay, well, she's starting to make sense now.
Based on the loudest people in the media.
I see. Chaos for you is here. Hello.
Which tend to be at either extreme, while moderates are less engaged and less loud. It's like when you read a review for a product online and get wildly different feedback.
Yes.
Because the only people writing reviews are ones who think it was either the worst thing they've ever purchased or the best thing that's ever happened to them. And
she's going back to the freaking movie again?
You miss out on the 95% of people who don't write a review because it was fine. So
yeah, that's interesting that you bring up the so-called 95% of people somewhere in the middle, right? You know what woke those people up here lately? Leeja? Have you been paying attention? Oh, yeah, putting porn in kids' classrooms. That got the old soccer moms really going, didn't it? Yeah, well, obviously they're hidden Nazis. Is that right? Douglas Edwards is here. Hello.
So we have a country where people on the right think that the leftist feminists want to castrate men, kill them all, along with their subservient wives who don't conform to the feminist worldview, and take over the world, wiping our period blood on the walls as we go. And
well,
on the left, people think that everyone who identifies as conservative hates women, is a predator or an apologist for predators, wants to go back to the 50s where women were to be seen and not heard, cook and clean while also looking hot, keep their opinions.
Look at that. Now she can cook breakfast again.
To themselves and further the white race by raising
oh, look at that.
White babies. And while there are quite a few people who do think that way on both sides.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it, Ash? What if just to say we need to introduce all the various gory details of Christianity to second grade students because they're gonna run into it in the world, so they gotta know. You can't keep that knowledge from them, right? Now, I wonder if the fembots and the lefties would be marching on the street to make sure that happened.
That overlooks a wide swath of the population that doesn't really feel very strongly one way or the other, or the population that might be in favor of equality or even open-minded to learning about how the patriarchy affects everyone in their lives, not just
patriarchy affects everyone in their lives, right?
Women, but instead are turned off by the rhetoric from the loudest people on the left, who make it seem like the only way to be a feminist is to hate men.
Those are the loudest voices, yeah.
And those people, especially women who may be open-minded to learning about feminism.
What's there to learn?
And the patriarchy in a more casual centrist way are then pushed further to the right, because as usual, black and white thinking will be the death of us all.
I should have mentioned it earlier. Excuse me, but I'll bring it up now. Y'all know what happened as well in 1979? Leeja? Do you? 1979 was the first year since World War II that more women were going to college than men. Wait a minute. We didn't have the ERA. How could that be possible?
There are feminists who think that to want to be a housewife is inherently anti-feminist and
yeah,
who rail against women who want to take more traditional roles.
Yes, should be their choice. That's what they want to do. Let them do it. What business is it of yours?
And then those women don't feel represented in feminism because they want to get married and have babies and fill a more traditional gender role. And so they think, well, since I want this and since I don't hate men, then I must be anti-feminist. Those are the only options. As one article recently put it, conservative women cherish the flag and the cross. Feminists typically reject both. Their analyses of secondary issues like workplace discrimination thus fail to resonate. But these attitudinal differences do not explain visceral hatred. Anti-feminism must be understood as part of a larger ecosystem of ideological polarization, social segregation, and misperceptions. Media organizations and political machines that benefit from outrage and tribal conflict add fuel to this fire. And that can then be a slippery slope, especially with the creation of the internet, toward the increasingly popular world of the trad wife.
CJ, hot and humid today. Yeah, I was 102 or 3 in St. Louis. It's still like 85 degrees. It's fucking hot. Very, very hot today.
Trad wife means traditional wife, and it's an internet term that has picked up in popularity since...
Actually, it's that's a translation. What it really means in English is Nazi.
The pandemic. It's used proudly by women on the right who are filling the traditional roles of wife and mother and consider it a political statement to do so. They're often deeply Christian, often Christian nationalist.
Christian nationalism. You notice that phrase gaining traction? Christian nationalism.
And concerned with doing things in a God-honoring way.
I see. The idea then is to get everyone who isn't a Christian to become one in this country. Is that right? That First Amendment thing.
Most mockingly show off their house.
Yeah. Freedom of religion. Okay.
Wifely lives.
Right.
To recruit and connect with other trad wives, but also...
Well, this is an accurate representation.
To annoy feminists who they assume, because of polarization, all believe that being a housewife is anti-feminist, which is ironic given the amount of cottagecore homesteading content that lefties love to consume. I think we have all collectively at some point daydreamed about going off grid and living off the land and baking bread from scratch.
Yeah. Sure. What does that have to do with anything?
The intent behind each is different. For leftists, that desire is predicated on a desire to escape the status quo. For people on the right, that desire is predicated on a desire to go back to the status quo. And
go back to the status quo.
And why wouldn't these women want to preserve the status quo? They're almost exclusively white women whose proximity to white men and the privileges and protections that come with it keep them invested in preserving the patriarchy and the status quo. For many, especially middle and upper class white women, the status quo isn't painful enough for them, and in fact does offer them the mystical protections that Phyllis Schlafly touted in a way.
Mystical protections. So what Phyllis Schlafly was saying, it's not really true, huh? No, of course not, because you're a brain-dead feminist, and you think women are still oppressed in 2023 in the West.
Way that it does not for women of color and poor women. Trad wives claim feminism has failed women, white women especially, because it's robbed us of the opportunity to have a male provider, a happy family, and a nice home. The Me Too movement is simply confirmation of the dangerous world that feminism has created.
Now, what headline do you think she's going to flash about Me Too? Should we take some guesses?
A world where men don't respect our femininity and fertility and feel free to assault and harass us. The ultimate victim-blaming narrative. We've made ourselves into sex objects as we're demanding too much equality. Because definitely back in the 50s, women weren't raped, abused, or taken advantage of. And this argument that feminism created the world we live in now is a convenient blanket argument so that anything bad that happens to women now is because of feminism, not in spite of it, as if...
Who is saying this? Leeja. Who is saying this bullshit?
Before feminism, we didn't have these problems. For example, I bought my own damn house.
Ooh. Well, welcome to being an adult. Do you want a cookie?
I'm the main breadwinner, and I wouldn't touch motherhood with a 10-foot fucking pole. But
well, that's good. You have the option to do that. Good for you.
To anti-feminists, this is the fault of feminism, not a result of me having free will or two brain cells to rub together.
Yes.
I would be so much happier if I capitulated to the natural way of the world, where men are toxic by nature and my place is in the home with the children, because
men are toxic by nature.
Definitely weren't housewives going insane in the 50s. Everyone was happy. There's another branch of conservative women who consider themselves to be conservative
yes,
feminists, attempting to reclaim the word for white women on the right. Conservative feminists believe in traditional family structures, individual choice, small government, and capitalism.
What's wrong with that? See, that's where there's a bunch of different facets going on here, I think. Vape King, she's also wearing hoop earrings. Mystery Man, she bought her own house that men built. Probably. But I mean, I've been hearing that, quite a bit lately. Well, I pay my own bills. I bought my own car. So fucking what? So what? That's what adults do. What's the big fucking deal? Well, but in 1940, we do not live in 1940. We live in 2023.
Many believe that men and women are inherently different, and while they deserve equal opportunities, that won't naturally lead to equal outcome.
Yes.
They posit that the leftist feminist obsession with equal outcomes, like that women should hold equal power in Congress or on corporate boards or should receive raises and promotions at the same rate as men for similar work, ignores the fundamental nature of men and women.
No, it ignores the fundamental nature of men and women having different aspirations and goals. Well, there aren't enough women CEOs. There aren't very many men CEOs either. Shut up, have a beer.
Their different abilities and their distinct preferences that lead to disproportionate outcomes.
Yeah, Pixel's going their own way. The myth that women were totally drugged in the 50s. Yeah, probably the upper class women, but other women were out working. Lower class women were working.
Basically, women choose to leave the workforce to have babies. They choose to prioritize other things over their jobs. They don't choose leadership roles the way that men do, and that's natural. And so,
well, I don't know if it's natural, but that seems to be the way it goes, yes. And absolutely, women choose to have children. It's their choice.
So by forcing equal outcomes, that means we're actually just giving women a leg up over men, saying you can make all these choices, but we're still going to pay you the same as men who are working harder and doing more. It's the
See, notice the drip, drip, drip of sugar. Oh, well, shouldn't women have equal opportunities? Yeah. Well, but why are you complaining about equal outcomes? Why are you saying that's a bad thing? Because it's fucking socialism. That's why. And I don't want it. It's not good. It doesn't work. Well, what about Norway? What about Norway? What about all that oil Norway has? What about the big fat oil fund they have? I'm going to guess, Leeja, you don't like oil either. All right?
Same argument against affirmative action. Well, the blacks are allowed into colleges now. Isn't that enough? Ignoring the fact that a leg up is really just equalizing the playing field.
Tell me, instead of affirmative action, why don't we go into the inner cities, for example, where maybe the schools aren't doing so well, maybe the kids aren't learning because of drugs and all kinds of crazy shit. Why don't we go and fix that? No? Teachers union? Is that right?
After centuries of oppression. You can't say, well, women are CEOs now, so the small number of female CEOs proves that most just choose not to be.
Well.
Just 50 years ago, there were 0 Fortune 500 female CEOs.
Well, I've never been a CEO. SCE, you ever been a CEO? What other evil white men do we have? Rusty, you're kind of a CEO, really. Chaos, are you a CEO? I'm not. Where's my fucking CEO job? No? I see. Only for women. Okay.
And women couldn't even hold their own credit cards.
Yeah. You know why that was, Leeja? Because the man was legally responsible to pay the fucking bill. That's why. That's why she had to get his signature, because he had to sign off and says, yes, I will pay this bill. You fucking dumbass.
When you grow up in a world that prioritizes male risk-taking and considers men who lead to be demanding but fair, while girls are taught to be careful and worry about others, and women who lead are considered bossy and cutthroat, you can't tell me that whether or not a woman becomes CEO of a Fortune 500 company is a choice. We're dealing.
Well, it is. Do you want to work 140 hours a week? Do a lot of women want to do a lot of men want to do that? It's just like being like the president or some powerful freaking politician. You almost have to be psychotic. You want to work 110 hours a week for 20 years? Maybe get a shot at a CEO job? Go ahead. Fucking have fun. I don't want it. I don't want the responsibility. See, that's the thing about feminism. Leeja, you may have noticed this along the way here sometime. Women and feminists back in the 60s wanted all the good stuff without having to fucking work for it. Just saying.
Dealing with centuries of culture, and to whittle that down to, well, we all have equal access now, so whatever's happening is just a consequence of nature.
Yep.
Is a fucking cop-out. And
okay. So point at whatever laws you think we need to change, Leeja, that are currently on the books that says legally women, we need to put barriers in the way for them to become CEO. Show me where that is, and I will help change that law. Oh, there isn't one. Okay.
What's wild is that the very women who espouse the virtues of patriarchy and who feel protected while in its clutches also experience some of the greatest of patriarchal wrath.
Oh. Okay.
A recent article by Professor Tracy Lanera points out this paradox of misogyny, especially against alt-right women. She explains that this misogyny takes on a paradoxical form. The better alt-right women propagandists promote hate, the greater the hostility they experience from their fellow racists and critics. The more submissive women alt-right members become, the harsher the impact of misogyny on them. For example, popular alt-right women propagandists like Lauren Southern frame the alt-right as supportive.
Well, I mean, yeah, clearly Lauren Southern's a Nazi.
Of women's interests, and have grown massive followings online promoting the beliefs of the alt-right.
Boy, that really fucking bothers you too, doesn't it, Leeja? Why is Lauren Southern getting all this stuff? She's evil.
But in becoming so successful and popular on their platforms, they open themselves up to far more hate from the very groups of men they're trying to promote. Because that level of visibility, the voice that having a large platform gives you, is antithetical to the expected gender norms that women are meant to conform to.
Yeah, I think I've had enough, guys. Just go ahead. Yeah, link's in the description if you want to go look at it. Okay, let's read some comments. Spider Spectre, hello. CJ, Miss Soggies. Yeah. What about Miss Andre? Anyone ever talk about no. You can't be discriminatory toward the people in positions of power. Right? Darkblade is going to bed. I think I'm going to bed myself. Shars in the yeah, all right. Who else is here? Rusty Rivers. Women run businesses into the ground. Well, certainly some, and then there are some that do it. But I mean, it's you. As I mentioned, you almost have to be like mental to be like in like Wolf of Wall Street type of position. There's got to be something wrong with you to want to do that sort of thing. Sure, the money would be great, and the power, and the women, and all that shit. But man, oh man, oh man. I mean, I think it's said very well by some guys, and I think it's really true. Women look for the winners. They don't look at the race, right? And so they look at Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, my God, look at him. He's so hot and rich and everything. What did he have to do to get there? We don't want to talk about that because that's reality. Now, some guys, yeah. Some guys are inherited in, so to speak. Daddy owns a company and they're made a board member because it's daddy, right? But the guys who are self-made and women who are self-made, that's a lot of fucking work to get there. No one's going to hand it to you for the most part. For us general people, it's not going to happen. Anyway, Garrett Grant's here. You guys have a... yeah, Lauren Southern's a feminist. Well, Lauren Southern is definitely for women's rights. And so am I. So if that makes me a feminist, fine, I'm a feminist. But that doesn't mean what feminism is today. It's a totally different animal. It has been morphed into something unrecognizable, even by feminists from the 70s. They don't get it anymore. Camille Paglia would be one. And others. Susanna Hoff Sommers, whatever. Christina Hoff Sommers, yeah. Anyway, I got to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Bye.